Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, discussing all things audiobooks with the authors that write the stories and the narrators that perform them. Brought to you by Viviana, Enchantress of Books.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 17 of the Audiobook Lovin Podcast. My guest today is narrator Lucas Webley. Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, Lucas. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thanks, Viviana. Thanks for having me on.
I know it's a pleasure to talk to you and get to know you better. And gee darn, I get to listen to your voice. Why don't we start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been narrating, and how you became a narrator?
I'm not sure exactly how long. It's been a fair few years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, 10 years maybe. I'm not sure. It's longer than I care to remember. I've done a lot of books and a lot of work generally. I've done some very diverse stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've voiced slot machines and self-parking cars and things like this. But books are good because it's where I get to be more of an actor rather than just like an announcer. So that's what I enjoy about that. How did I begin? I think what it was, I was browsing Reddit one day and I saw a comment on Reddit. Someone had just put this terrible comment. I can't think what it was, but it was something really gross. And I was like, that'd sound funny if someone said it in a very classy way. And so I made a novelty account. Some people do, just to amuse myself. And whenever someone said something terrible, I'd record like a little 5-second sentence of me repeating it back in a very classy way. And it kind of caught on a bit. And then people said, wow, I really like your voice. And what audiobooks have you done? Where can I hear more of your voice? And then I was like, well, fuck, you can't. So I thought, well, maybe I should look into doing that. So then I began auditioning for voice roles. And then I just seemed to kind of get most of them. So I was like, well, I'm definitely onto something. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah. Wow. Well, lucky us. I love that you were taking something that was being said and then transforming it into something else. God, to listen to those audios, that'd be kind of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even, I wouldn't repeat them to you now. I'd be too embarrassed. It was like whatever was the worst things I could find on Reddit, I would just say them. It's a very kind of,
yeah,
like I've got a can of Coke here. So I would say in this kind of accent, Coca-Cola, original taste. That kind of, radio voice.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's one of those things where you kind of twist, you get something bad or not so good or whatever, and then you make it into a funny. Yeah. You have to, yeah. It's almost. I know sometimes I do that when I read reviews for things for books and stuff. I'm like, well, let's do this in a British accent. My British is not good, and let's do a little like Bridgerton or things like that. It's kind of funny. To play around with the accents. But it's funny too because your bio though says one man, an army of voices.
Oh, and yeah.
Your reel is like this. It's like runs the gamut on the spectrum of how many different sounds and voices come out of you. And I'm like, I know this is just one man, and yet it sounds like there's 15.
I do kind of pride myself a little bit on versatility. Because I've done so much like different forms of work, like video games. They require certain kinds of voices. Like if someone wants you to be like a cowardly ogre or something like this, you have to have a voice for that. And then if someone wants you to be the noble hero, like king or something like this, so you have to kind of really go the spectrum. And I've just kind of always been able to kind of do that. I'm not saying it's effortless or anything, but I can adapt very well, I think.
Do you have any sort of ritual before you start recording to help with the voice and kind of get you into that range where you need to, such a variety of things?
No, I don't. I just go in cold every time. But I think maybe like I had a background in music. I used to be a singer in a band. I suppose most people have been at some point when they were teenagers and things. But I had a quite aggressive singing voice, so it's quite quite rough and loud, like a rock blues kind of a voice. And then at some point in my late teens, the texture of my voice kind of broke, not like my voice breaking through puberty, but like a different kind of break. Whereas then I could speak smoothly or sing smoothly, like kind of angelically, and then I could switch it to like demon mode and then be like rough and gravelly. And I think that's helped me a lot with voice acting, because it is required. If you're doing a book with like 5 characters, you need to be able to switch between voices.
Yeah.
Like between young prince, say, and like a demonic thing. So it's good to be able to switch like that. I think that the singing helped with that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that you kind of start training your voice pretty young to go through the different, tones, and it's a muscle at the end of the day, your larynx.
Well,
so the vocal cords. So having to record that in advance and being a band as a teenager. Yeah. I can only imagine. I had friends that were in bands, so I remember those days. To be young again,
I carried on being a musician for years afterwards. I still perform now and again. Not so much since COVID, because everywhere shut down for 2 years. But I did regularly perform in my hometown, just myself and a guitar, or sometimes with a small group. And so I've never stopped singing. So that does still help with the voice as well, especially if I do a gig and then I've got to record the next day. That's when I do the guttural kind of villainous animal kind of voices, because you've got so much vocal fry the next day after you had a couple of beers and sang for an hour. You can sound like a lion if you want to. So
wow, okay. That is definitely something. Talk about timing, right, and planning things out. So I'm going to have a gig on Friday, and there's going to be some beers on top of the singing. So on Saturday and Sunday, I'll probably record those 2 Pacific roles. That's
exactly.
I'm not the only planner. Yay. When it comes down to the voices and stuff in the books, how do you go about selecting how the character is going to sound, specifically when you're narrating a reverse harem and you are doing all the guys?
I do a lot of the reverse harem, and so it's not all that I do. I've done like a bunch of other stuff, but I do get picked a lot, and I think it's because of the range, diversity of the range. And it's usually I'll ask the author for a brief like biography. I'll say like, give me an age range and a kind of attitude, a couple of keywords for the character, so then I can like lock in. Like if they say, oh, this one's wise, then you might go, okay, he's got maybe slight more gravel to the voice, and this one's petulant. So you go, okay, maybe it's a little higher pitched, maybe a little, bit camp. But I get these keywords and the brief bios of the characters, and then I kind of sometimes, not all the time, but I'll cast them. Like I'll movie star cast them, and then go down that avenue without mimicking, but like kind of going like oh, that the villain, or that be, oh, that's kind of a James Spader kind of a thing, oh girl. And in my mind, then it's James Spader, and then I'll go with that kind of thing. So I'd kind of fantasy cast in my mind and then stick to that.
Okay. Yeah, because it's one of those things when it comes down to the specifically reverse harems, there's so many of the guys, and sometimes they're all in the same room. Having the conversation with each other. And
so you have to definitely separate the voices and the attitudes of them. That's why I kind of ask for the attitudes. I go like, well, this guy who's like, say, the nominal leader of the group, is he short-tempered? Because then you can kind of infuse it in the voice. Not all the time, but it's always there in the background.
No, it really does help, because the cadence too. Like if they're more the excited type, they're going to talk a little bit faster because they get giddy and stuff. Do you prep the book in advance aside from getting the author's notes? And how do you prep?
I don't do a lot of prep, because I just kind of like to freewheel, and then if it's not coming together, I'll rethink it. But usually I can lock onto it pretty well. And then it's submitted to like I normally do. I'm sure this is the usual method, but you'll submit a chapter to the author, and they'll give you notes and say, well, I love this, and I hate this, or I love this, or I'm not keen on this, and you just tweak it from there, and then you're good to go for the rest of the book. And I kind of enjoy watching the book unfold as I'm reading it, because then if there's any surprises, I can kind of articulate that surprise genuinely, because I didn't know what was coming.
Yeah, and when there's that ooh, oh.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah. But sometimes when that happens though, if I know it's more so in thrillers, I think, and even like romantic suspense, where you think that the bad guy is not really the bad guy. And so giving them those kind of voices too is interesting, and kind of, so I can only like, ooh, yeah, I made him too obvious. But
yeah, there is that danger. But like, I think I tend to approach most of the books. Most of the books are written where the villains aren't just outright villains anyway. They've always got some nature of redeeming features. So you try and make them more rounded as characters anyway.
That is true.
So you don't try not to keep them one-dimensional. I mean, but sometimes they literally, in the fantasy books, they do turn into like snarling monsters. So, that's the way that they've got to be voiced. There's no complexity to like these, hell hound men or whatever they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, when it comes down to the different genres, there's always these, paranormal and fantasy, and it's the shifters and the vampires and and aliens in space, and things morph, and you're going, okay, let's go there. The other thing too that specifically romance listeners are very excited about are the accents and the accent work when it comes down to the characters. You have a natural British accent because you're British.
I do, yeah.
But what is your favorite accents to perform?
Irish ones, okay, because that's UK, so that's kind of not natural to me, and Scottish as well. A lot of people like the Scottish, so the British accents are good. But I've got a trouble doing American accents as long as it's not too specific. If someone says, "Oh, can you sound like you're from Maine?" I'll go, maybe let me listen to some tapes first. But I can't, I'm not that specific.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't generally have a problem with accents. I enjoy doing all of them, really. But like with the set of books I did for, I can't think of what they're called now. But there was like an Irish guy in there, and he was a lot of fun to play. The writing was just fun. Mm-hmm. But just doing the accent, it kind of came naturally. Because I always had difficulty with the Irish accent. For years, I couldn't get it. And then one day, I don't know what happened. I just fell into place, and then I couldn't stop. So I do have a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, Irish is fun. We do like the Irish accent and things like that. But yeah, I can see when I was listening to your reel, you had some American in there, and it's really good. But I know it's also hard to maintain because there's different ways of pronouncing the words and where your tongue lies and things like that. So I can so I can imagine where if you had to carry that for an entire book,
it's not particularly difficult. I'll occasionally get notes back saying, "Oh, you said privacy instead of privacy." I go, oh fuck yeah, okay.
That's true.
Generally speaking, it's not a problem because just, as a British person, you're immersed with American media a lot anyway. It's always been American TV, always, American movies. So you pick it up by osmosis, whether you like it or not. But, some people overpronounce the R's in American. They'll say America, and it's like, no. So you have to get the nuances right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not so much a struggle going through a whole book for me personally, but then again, I've always had a level of mimicry, and a lot of people think that voice acting is just mimicry, and it's not like that. A lot of people I'll meet will say like, "Oh, you're a voice actor," and I'll go, "Yeah." And then they go, "Oh, you should hear my Kermit the Frog," and I'll go, "That's not what it's about, really." But thanks. And they might do a great Kermit the Frog, but it's not just mimicry. There's a lot more to it. I was like gifted somewhat in mimicry since I was young. My mom said, I don't remember doing this, but mom said, I used to do Ronald Reagan impressions when I was 4 years old.
Oh my God.
So see Ronald Reagan on the news because I'm old. She says, "Oh, I was amazed. You were like a little tiny kid doing these Ronald Reagan impressions, just saying Nancy in Ronald Reagan's voice and things like that." So I've always had that kind of ability.
Yeah, it's one of those things that sometimes comes naturally to others. I have the thing where if I'm hanging out with someone for a while and they have the accent, I will start picking it up when I have friends or like family in Texas. There'll be a bit of a Texan twang.
Pick up the drawl.
Yeah. And the one time I went to Boston, this has been like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I can't say the word car without saying ka. It's like car. Okay. It's like car. Okay. Yeah. It's like, okay, dude, it's just one word, but whatever. It's, but they're fun. I know that sometimes people can take it to the extreme and now you're like the Lucky Charms Irish for the commercials.
Yeah, I know someone I know well that grew up in the same city as me in central England in Birmingham. And I don't have a particularly strong Birmingham accent. I don't really have the accent at all. It's a dreadful accent, actually. But someone I know that was born here and raised here, they moved to London, and then like 2 weeks later, they came back for lunch and they were speaking in like full-on London Cockney accent. I'm like, what? Stop doing that. You've only been there for 2 weeks. And they go, oh, sorry, I just talk like this now. That's how I talk now. I'm like, okay. They just completely went full London.
Oh, wow. Talk about immersion for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But it's interesting when you're saying how you guys are immersed over there with all the English, the American stuff. We get one channel here, BBC America, and and it's like, dude, or PBS sometimes when they do those miniseries, and I'm like, why can't we get more broad with because you guys, there's a lot of good shows and a lot of good movies that come out of the UK, and it's like but
I think it's improving now with internet access and everything. People are seeing more stuff, but for years, like there's so much great British stuff that just Americans weren't aware of, but it is getting better.
Especially with streaming. I know that when I saw Pride and Prejudice with Matthew McFadden, I went on what else has he done? And then I'm like, he's done a TV show. It's called MI5. And and things like that. So I went on a whole like, how can I get this? And I ended up buying some DVDs in Amazon UK and having to rig my DVD here to have it play it.
Matthew McFadden does an excellent American accent, I think.
Yeah,
I must say, in Succession, if you've seen that.
I went down a rabbit hole of Matthew McFadden and I saw everything.
Tom Wamsgans, what a name.
Yeah. It's he's a really good actor, but that's how really I learned that like even like the DVDs are different and that there's codings and things like that. And I'm like, man, that sucks.
Region locked stuff.
Region locked stuff and things like that. But I'm grateful for the being able to stream stuff and be a bit more culturally aware of things.
I don't have any physical media now whatsoever. I used to have shelves of DVDs and it's all gone now. It's just pure streaming.
Exactly. Yeah. Unless the other thing too, if I like the movie a lot, I might buy it simply because it's like almost like a comfort
just to
read.
Covet it,
yeah. Well, it's also sometimes, especially with this, at least I'm not sure how it is there, but here they'll put something that you're available to stream and then all of a sudden they'll get rid of it. And you're going, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah. And it's like, so I'm like, that's why I have my Pride and Prejudice DVD, from that movie. Got the collector's edition. I know we were talking about the accents and that when it comes down to the American, when it's specifically a region, those are a bit more difficult. Would you consider that to be like the hardest ones for you to perform, or are there others?
Yeah, it's hard because you think, well, it's mostly going to be an American audience, so you don't want to sound bad. You don't want to sound like, like the equivalent would be Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
Oh God, yeah.
It's dreadful. I love Dick Van Dyke, and I love him in the movie, but it does not sound English. It doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard. So you don't want to be Dick Van Dyke.
Mm-hmm.
So
a good example.
Well, yeah, and so I generally just go with a general American accent. So I can turn it a little Southern if needs be, or very heavily cartoon Southern if needs be. But generally it's not required. If it is very region specific, if it's region locked, like a DVD, then I will do the research that's required. I mean, depending on how much they're paying me. They pay me enough. I'll do the research and really get into the role.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try and contact people from wherever it is and try and get some tips and things.
Got it. Yeah. Because it's we in the accents here in the States are very particular, and individuals are very proud of their roots. And
it's the exact same here.
Yeah.
There's so many accents, and there's so like you could go 50 miles from where I am now and then barely understand someone.
Yeah, I did not know that until I traveled to Atlanta, Georgia, and someone's like, "Oh, you're not from here, are you?" And I go, "What gave it away?" And she's like, "How you said Atlanta?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And same thing with like Louisville, Kentucky, and things like that. So I've always been fascinated with accents and how, pronunciations of words, and also sometimes the passion that people show. Like, dude, it's okay, chill.
But yes, generally speaking, I do try and honor the regions as best I can, but I can't claim that I've always got it perfectly, but I do try.
Yeah, no, that's on it. I think it's that a realm of disbelief, just a slight enough for me to say, "Oh yeah, Southern, good, done." Not specifically, from this town in this region. Yeah, it's just I need enough just to get me through that, so I can believe it. Yeah,
and of course, America is such a vast space that people from one side of America might not know the specifics of a Wisconsin accent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they wouldn't make any difference to them. It's only the people in Wisconsin that would know.
Yeah, that is true. But they'll get to sometimes those individuals on the reviews. There was one time where someone was reviewing a book and they were, I laughed my ass off because they were like, his Irish really sucked. And I'm going, dude, the narrator is Irish. And a similar one with a British one. His British was just so not convincing. It was just atrocious. I'm like, he's British.
Yeah. I've had similar to that. Well, they didn't say. They're going, oh, your British accents. Wow, it's really good. I'm really amazed by your British accent because they assume I'm American if I start in American.
No, that is true. I think sometimes we don't know where you guys are from because a lot of you are very mysterious and don't have websites or things like that. But when we learn, we're like, oh, you're British. Oh, okay, cool. That makes more sense why you're British. Is so damn good.
Hugh Laurie, a lot of people didn't realize Hugh Laurie was English in America, but he's the most English man in the whole world.
Yeah, watching House was definitely like, oh, okay. And then I did some research. Oh, he's British. Damn.
Yeah, he's very British. He went to Oxford and rode for Oxford and everything. He's very, very British.
Oh, I did not know you could do a thing where you're very, very British. Is there a scale? Like, how do you become very, very British?
Well, if you went to Cambridge or Oxford, that's very British.
Ah, okay. Trying to think. I think we have stuff like that here, depending on the state. If you're
Harvard, I guess.
Yeah, but even then, like depending, like if you're from Florida, if you went to like the state university or UM and stuff like that. So so I get that. Cool.
That's where you're based, isn't it, Florida?
I am in Florida, but I'm in Orlando. Yeah, smack in the middle.
How is it?
What do you mean by how is it living here?
Yeah, how is it generally?
It's good. We have really good weather, except for when we have hurricanes in the summers. But
of course, yeah.
And then
I'd be terrified of that. I'd be terrified.
Yeah, well, the good thing is, at least compared to other natural disasters, we get warnings and things are built here up to code, supposedly. And so you are able to prepare and things like that. But it's still terrifying. And I've born and raised here. We have the humidity, which is the worst part of it all. And
this is what I've heard about Florida. It's very humid.
Oh my goodness, it's horrible. And as a native, I never realized what was being like. They're like at the humidity. I go, And then I went to Colorado in the middle of summer for a book convention, and I was able to walk in and back and forth outside, and I didn't have that sweat all the way in the back, my back. I'm like, oh, this is what they mean. when it's the fuck. Like, I don't like humidity. It sucks. Yeah. And then we only get 2 seasons, wet and dry.
Yeah. Well, we only get one, wet. We get 3 days in summer where it's baking hot, and then the rest of it's just drizzle.
Oh. Yeah,
that's an exaggeration, but it does rain a lot.
Yeah, we hear that.
The weather here is essentially identical to Seattle. I would say.
Yeah, I still want to go visit though. I've never been abroad. It's on my list of places to go and do.
You should definitely visit the UK.
Yeah, I would love to do the whole UK and Ireland and stuff like that. And it's so cool because you guys can do like get on a train for a few hours and then you're in a completely different country. I'm still in the same state after a few hours. I think I got to drive like 10 hours to get out of my state going north. Yeah.
If you drove 10 hours in any direction from my city, which is right in the middle of England, right in the middle of the UK, dead center. If you drove 10 hours one way in any direction, you'd be in the sea.
Yeah. Not going to do that. Thank you. That's not how I want to do my trip when I go there. Yeah. Romance is said to be an umbrella term with all the subgenres underneath it. And that's where we get the paranormal and all that fun stuff with different contemporaries and things like that. Do you have a favorite subgenre to perform?
I do enjoy the paranormal ones and the demonic ones, because you do get to really let loose and be like a cackling evil monster, and that's always fun to do. If it's not paranormal, it's just generally normal people, and you still get to express some good emotion, some rage, and some upset. I've got a kind of, I don't know what it is. I enjoy being upset in these books. So I think you might show some more of my acting range, but I like it when he says, and then the so-and-so, his voice broke as he began to speak, and then you have to do like that kind of crying voice. And I kind of like being able to just do that. It's kind of makes me feel like the real deal.
It is something that is said about your narration, is that the performance and how the emotions come out of it is very gut wrenching. Like we can feel it. It's like, I'm like, oh my God, he was crying, he was really pissed, or dang, he was crying. Okay.
Yeah, I do like, I don't like read reviews or anything, but I do like when I occasionally get a bit of feedback from the producer and say, oh, so-and-so said it, you made them cry with this book. I'm like, fucking nice guy.
Authors, and now you as far as a narrator goes, love making us listeners and readers cry. It's like, I'm the wrong girl for that. I'm not a crier. It's not necessarily crying. It's just like taking them to a place where it moves them. Oh yeah, that's true. Where they're not just flipping through the pages, or just it's like background. You've gripped them. I think that's the element of it that I like. Yeah. Well, no, that's when you're completely like, you cannot put it down. You want to know what's happening and you're invested. It's definitely a sign of not only a really great book. Invested and blubbing in tears, ugly crying. Yeah, you're not a crier. I was going to say I'm not a crier, but I cry at like movies all the time. Well, yeah, when it's one of those things I've noticed where there's certain types of individuals, like they will cry at a concert or when they're fangirling. I am not that girl. Never have been. No, I never was, but and I would never cry at movies or anything like that until I was, what am I now? I think I'm 43 now. And when I got to about 40, I was like, I don't know. I was watching. It wasn't even something sad. It was something, mild, and something just happened, and I was in tears. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna bother holding it back anymore. And I just cried at like every single film I've seen. Oh yeah, no, there are those moments in movies and things like that. It's just but it also you're watching something when it comes down to the books. I mean, I do see almost like a movie when I'm reading it or listening to it in front of me. Yeah. But there's just something about it. But that's where there's been a few instances where there have been like, oh fuck, I'm crying. And it's like, damn it, insert narrator's name here, and damn it, Sasha Summers for writing that book. She's like, I made Vivi cry. And I'm like, you're lucky I love you. Yeah, but paranormal is actually one of my favorite genres as well. I love the fact that people can morph into something else and be a shifter and all this, fun things too. So I'm sure it's also fun doing all those different voices and characters.
It is, yeah. The more of a stretch, the more I enjoy it generally.
Mm-hmm. Is there a genre that you have not narrated in that you'd like to?
I don't think so. I haven't done much kind of science fiction, but I'm doing a science fiction book in October.
Okay.
For an author I haven't narrated for before. It's a male author as well, which is rare for me. It's usually like exclusively female authors that tend to approach me. So that would be interesting. But no, I've been doing this for so long. I've pretty much narrated everything genre-wise.
That's good. Yeah, they'll come up with something. They keep inventing new ones every once in a while, so you never know. A few years ago, they busted out with new adult, and I'm like, and that's usually between like, well, I'm sure the range between like 19 to like 23, and I'm like, right, so what does that make the rest of us like vintage and antique adults?
I guess it does. Wow.
I'm like, I just thought we were all fucking adults, but now we're gonna be new adult, vintage, and antiques. Thank you.
New adults. But again, like the best things for me is when is something that stretches me. It could be like just in terms of the voice or reverse harem is ones that I do the most of, and that is really gratifying for me because I get to be 7 different people in one book.
Yeah, so, and so that's
I'm not. You're asking me about the stuff I haven't really done. Have done everything, I think, but the reverse harem ones are the ones that really test me and the ones that I enjoy the most.
Yeah, that's one of my best friends is like, oh my God, he's one dude and he's doing all these voices. You've got to listen to it. I'm like, yes, Brandy, I will do that. It's when you have that situation, because that's the trickiness when it comes down to recording the books and listening, is when there are so many characters and you're trying to figure out who is speaking. The fact that you can give us all that range is phenomenal, and I know that we all appreciate it as well.
Oh, thank you. There's one thing I did begin to do shortly after I started doing these books is keeping little voice notes of the characters, because more often than not, these books will be trilogies or at least duologies. And then if you go to do the second book, you're like, fuck, I don't know what any of them. Yeah, like you can listen to the first book, but then you got to go, well, this guy isn't in till chapter 9. I've got to skim through like 8 hours of audio to get to the sentence that this guy says, and you can't remember what he sounds like. So I have to make notes of all the characters, like on my phone. I'll just do a quick voice note so I can keep them all cataloged in case I have to go back 3 books later.
Yeah, because that's the thing too. Authors love to do. Sometimes they'll throw in like what I call like a throwaway character in book 1 or 2, and then all of a sudden in book 7 they're like the lead, and you're going,
yeah, that's happened. I've just given him a generic voice, then they're the main guy in the next like book. You're like, fuck.
Yeah. or the opposite too. You know, it was a goofy moment, so they're you give them this messed up kind of a voice, or deep down gravelly, and you're going, no.
yeah I've been thrown for a loop a couple of times with that.
I sometimes wonder if they do it on purpose, the authors. There have been some that have said that they will have an accent in there, knowing like if they have the consistent narrators all the time, just to see if they can do it. And I'm like, you're mean. I love you, but damn, that's mean. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's why I like you. We're good.
Well, see, this is why I make the voice notes, to avoid it.
Yeah. So aside from the voice notes, do you, if you punch and roll, do you keep your outtakes and bloopers at all, or no?
No, I don't. No, as soon as the raw file is not needed, I delete it immediately. I can't bear the idea of there being mistakes in the world that belong to me.
And I think that's what it is. Especially, I've noticed that it's a lot more of the the female narrators that will do things like the bloopers. Yeah, the guys are like, Nope.
I mean, it's not so much that well, I suppose it is that it's embarrassing. It's like it's usually I don't tend to make lots of mistakes because I don't read through super fast, and I try and pace myself. When I first started narrating audiobooks, the producer or the publisher rather said, "You're doing great, but you're going way too fast." Like you know, I was like, "Really? It feels like a natural pace." And she says, "Well, just think about it like this. We're paying you by the hour, finished hour. So the more time you take, the more money you'll earn." I'm going, right, I'm slowing it down.
Nothing like motivation, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't make a lot of mistakes. I don't think. Usually mistakes won't be a mispronunciation or anything. It'll be like, I don't know, like maybe a click of the mouth because of you know, drinking soda and my mouth is a little sticky, so I just sound gross. Or it'll be if I'm in an American accent and then I'll just accidentally say it in a British way, and that those are the kind of bloopers. So they're not like funny bloopers. It's just me being bad. They're not like amusing or worth keeping. It's just it's just me fucking up and it not being funny or anything.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is too, is it's not the fuck up exactly that we are looking for. Sometimes it's like, how do you react to it? And especially when you sometimes get stuck in a word and you're fuck, you know, and you're going, damn it.
That's the worst thing ever. And there are certain things, I can't even think of any examples right now, but things that are easy to say as a British person that are very difficult to say in an American accent as a British person. And it's usually alliterative things. And again, I can't think of any examples, but it's something like maybe if there's like certain sentences with HR words in that go like flow after each other, and trying to, it's like as an English person saying it in an American way, you can say each word perfectly, and then you try and string them together, and it just won't lock because your tongue doesn't want to move that way because for years you've been saying the words in an English way and they just won't lock. And so that's such a pain, but you know, you just have to keep going and occasionally cheat by splicing it together if you can. But like usually you just have to keep pressing on, and like one sentence can take 10 minutes. I mean, luckily it's not too often.
Thank you. Yeah.
So super talented. But no, it is the worst thing ever.
Yeah, no, there's certain words too that even myself as an American, I'm going, that's like, wow, okay. And especially with my brain being bilingual, there were times where I'm talking to you in English and we're fine and everything. All of a sudden, the word that I need to say pops into my head in Spanish, and I'm going, that's not helping me.
Yeah.
How do you say it, you know, in English? And then, or the other way around, I was speaking to I remember having a conversation with my grandmother, and all of a sudden we were talking and it was in reference to the fence, but I could not remember how to say fence in Spanish. And I'm like,
right.
You know, the thing. And
what language do you speak in your dreams?
English. Yeah. And
I've always found that kind of fascinating with bilingual people. Like I know people from Eastern Europe in England, and one of them once said like, "Oh, I remember when I began dreaming in English. It was a couple of years ago." And I go, "Oh, of course, right, yeah," because they spoke English perfectly well, better than most English people. But like in their mind, they were still Hungarian or Lithuanian or whatever it was.
Yeah, I will switch automatically into Spanish when I'm upset and pissed off about something, and then the Argentinian accent comes out. And I think sometimes in the dreams that happens as well. The only other time that there was ever a different language in my dreams and stuff was when I was an infant and a toddler with my sister, my twin sister. So we had that twin.
That's
identical. Yeah, identical twin.
Identical twin. That's fascinating.
You have a sibling, don't you?
I have an identical twin.
Yeah, it's a fun thing, isn't it?
It's automatic best friend and automatic worst enemy, I think.
Yes, that is true.
When you're younger, especially, like it's you know exactly which buttons to press.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah.
Those are fun. So that's the only other time there was a different language, when you had that twin speak. Did you guys have that?
Oh, I'm told we did. Yeah, we used to communicate. Like I think I had a problem. Not a problem communicating. Like I was kind of a little bit shy, so I wouldn't speak to people. I'd whisper in my twin's ear and get him to say what I'd said. If I wanted something, I'd ask him to ask for it. I just wouldn't ask for it myself. If I wanted like some cookies or something.
I did that with my sister. Yeah, when I wanted something, I'm like, Francis, go get it for me. Then like asking, that kind of stopped as we got older. But sometimes in our teen years, we would do that. We would have bunk beds, and
we had bunk beds too.
Yeah, I was on top, she was on the bottom, and then we fall asleep or whatever. And then one night, the next day, my mom comes and talks to me. She goes, "What did you guys do that I'm not aware of?" And we're going, "What are you talking about?" No, last night you guys were talking to each other in your sleep, and you're like, "Don't tell mom." And I'm like, I don't know, Mom. Sorry. You cannot fault us or ground us when we're sleeping.
I remember I burned the living room carpet once, and it was me that did it. And but my mom and dad, I put some laundry on top of it to try and hide the burn mark. So what it was, we had the little gas flame fire, and I thought, I'll be Indiana Jones. I twisted up some tissue paper, and I thought if I stick it in the fire, it will be like a flaming torch that you would walk around a pyramid with or whatever. But instead of being a flaming torch, it just instantly flamed up, burnt my fingers, and fell on the carpet. Started burning the carpet. So I stamped it out, put some clothes on top of it, thinking, I've never seen my mum and dad wear these clothes. That's going to be fine for like 5 years. They'll never look under them. And then, but then, of course, the very next morning, they've picked up these clothes and there's a big burn mark in the carpet. And they said, "Which one of you boys has done this?" And I wouldn't admit it. And my twin brother wouldn't admit it because he didn't do it. And so they said, "Right, we're gonna take you to the police station, and they're gonna arrest you, and then we keep you in a cell till we find out which one of you did it." And so they did take us to the police station, and I'm physically hanging onto the door frames as we were walking past, screaming like, "No, don't take me." And they took us down, and they put us in a cell. Like, they got the policeman to play along.
Oh my God!
They put us in a cell, and I still didn't admit it.
Oh, stubborn, even at a young age.
They eventually just had to say, "Well, they had to let us go," because I just wouldn't admit it.
Oh wow! Wow, talk about old school parenting.
Yeah. I mean, it did terrify me, but like, I don't know. I'd rather go to jail than
face the wrath.
Be in trouble with my mom and dad. I'd rather be in trouble with the police.
That is, yeah. Yeah, similar in my household. Sometimes I'm like, but it was always interesting. Sometimes my sister would do stuff and then I get in trouble. So I was considered like the black sheep of the family, and she was like the saint. And I'm like, really? She's the one that broke the lipstick, not me.
That's very specific. The broken lipstick that stayed with you this whole time.
It has, something about it was one of my mom's lipsticks, and I think my sister was angry, and she's like, well, she just broke it, and then my mom's like, Viviana, I'm like, I didn't do that. If I did it, you wouldn't have figured it out.
Well, that's it. Yeah. If none of you admits it, then it's not like you both get out of trouble. You're just both in trouble then.
Yes, we both got grounded. But in some cases, like I said, because I was a black sheep and she was believed, and then she would walk away.
Guilty.
Yeah, she would walk away, turn around, and give me a smirk, and I'm like, I hate you.
Well, you just play the long game, the cold revenge thing, and you just pull some pranks on her.
Oh, absolutely. Even now in our old days, every once in a while, I will smack her out of nowhere, and she's like, "What was that for?" And I'm like, "I'm just catching up."
My lipstick.
Yeah. Are you guys identical twins?
Yes, we are.
I mean, not identical, mirror twins. I meant to mirror. Are you guys mirror identical twins?
Well, we look identical, like we were from the same egg.
Right. But do you know what the mirror part is?
I'm not sure. So,
when you look at a mirror, if you raise your right hand, that side also raises the same way, but it's their left.
If you look
in the mirror.
In a mirror.
Yeah. And you raise your one hand.
Yeah,
and the reflection is the same. Now imagine your twin being the reflection.
Yeah.
And that's what they call a mirror twin.
Well, one of them's left-handed.
Yep. Yeah.
No, we're both right-handed.
Oh, okay. See?
Both right-handed.
Okay. Yeah, we're mirror twins, and so.
Okay, well that's interesting.
Yeah, well, it also means that anytime that we did any kind of piercings, like or vaccination shots, we had to have them in different spots.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because otherwise, ouch! At the same time.
I think the only thing with my brother and I like that, it's like when we were young, we had to have glasses for bad eyesight, and because my right eye had poorer vision than the left, and his left eye had poorer vision than the right to the exact same degree.
Oh wow!
So it's like opposite eyes, but apart from that, I don't think there's anything.
Yeah, it's just fascinating because it's literally one person split into two.
Yeah,
the twins and stuff, and it's like personality. Are you guys?
Well, twins are a lot more common these days because of like fertility treatments, and things
right?
Like this, and just like back then, it was pretty rare. We were the only twins in our school.
Same. We were the only ones too. Yeah, that's one of those things. Like nowadays, it's like twins this or triplets that. And I'm going, yeah, but we're like,
there's like they're all over the place now.
Yeah, and I'm like, but see, but we're like the original is very rare.
Yeah. What's wrong with these people not absorbing their twins in the womb like they should? No longer special.
Yeah, now they have like strollers that are for twins. My dad had to weld two separate together because they didn't have anything for twins back then. Yeah. So yeah, fun times growing up back in the day. But yeah, it's all good. You and your brother are in a band. Do you guys play together? I know you guys used to be in a band. Are you guys still in a band together?
We play together on occasion because he's a phenomenal guitar player, and I can get by on the guitar, but I'm not like spectacular or anything. But he always was, just had a gift for it from the moment he picked it up, and then just has only gotten better since. Like he was playing for like 3 months, and he's already like playing Jimi Hendrix songs like with his teeth, and I'm like, fuck, okay, well, I'm like, how are you doing that? He goes, I'm just doing it. I'm like, fuck, I can't do that. And so I de facto then became the singer because I couldn't play the guitar as well as he could, and he became the guitarist. So that was our kind of our gimmick. We were like twins, and we had like the same guitars and dressed the same on stage. So it was kind of like people kind of like that. Yeah, we still play now and again, do the odd charity gig, things like that.
That's cute. Yeah, it's those things of when you're younger, our parents dressing people seem alike and things like that. I was like, oh, thank God I'm not doing that now. But nowadays parents are getting outfits that match their kids, and I'm going, yeah, trauma.
Yeah.
When you're not working, what do you do for fun?
Well, music, perform just for myself, and that's a lot of what I do. I make digital art. It's called polymodeling. I don't know how common that term is, but it's like generally it's like I suppose you could call it digital sculpture. So you're like using programs called like ZBrush, where you essentially get a digital clay and you use a pen and a tablet. Then you sculpt the clay and make sculptures, things like this. And I've made all sorts of things. Can't really demonstrate on a podcast, but if you go to my Instagram, you can see some of the stuff that I've made.
Wow. Why not just use clay?
Because you can erase your mistakes easier digitally. And I'm not big on stickiness.
It's a texture thing, huh?
Yeah. And my apartment's not huge, so I don't get clay everywhere.
That is okay. I understand. It's what I'd ask, because it's like clay. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I've seen some of the artwork; it's really good.
No, you've seen some of my artwork.
Yeah. Well, the ones that you put on your Instagram, I've seen one or two.
Oh, okay.
It's called research, dude.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah. What is your favorite word? Not your favorite curse word. That's the next part. But your favorite word.
Ooh, I have no idea. I don't think it's something I've given much thought to. What's my favorite word? I don't want to welch on the question, but I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. Next time,
maybe come back to that.
Yeah. So, what is your favorite curse word?
Ooh, well, I'm British, so it's got to be the C word. It's a term of affection here. So.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's over here. It's like, oh, you clutch your pearls when they hear it here, and yeah. Again, I get stuck though when I listen to a lot of British. When I watch a lot of British TV or when I'm listening to books and it's just coming out, and I'm like, fucking cunt. Yeah. And I kind of use that as in replacement of the word like bitch. Used to be like, oh my God, you did not just, it was horrible. Yeah. And now it's like, bitch, you caught anybody that and it's not a big deal. So I'm like, when they're bad, I'm like, fucking cunt.
It sounds great when you say, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It sounds extraordinary because to me, it's just like, oh, what's that cunt up to?
Yeah.
Like, he'll be back in 5 minutes. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Saying like the equivalent of us here using like, bitch, come here.
Yeah.
Or in my case, dude, is what I use.
Like, stop acting the cunt and pass me that guitar. It's just that simple. No one takes offense. It's just another word. Yeah. But I think because it's so strong in other places, it's kind of I like it because of that, because it can be affectionate, but it also can be fucking horrific. So yeah, that's my favorite one.
Okay. Cool. As a musician, obviously music is huge for you in everyday life, but even in regular folks that are not musicians, when that one song comes up that we just have to sing, no matter where we're at and who's around, what's your song? Like, what song is the one that when you hear, whether you're in the grocery, in the car, or anywhere else, that you hear, you have to sing along?
Ooh. Paradise City by Guns N' Roses, No Danger. Has to be. What an anthem. Heard it when I was a kid and I fell in love with it instantly, and it's never gotten old for me. Because it starts off, it's just, a regular kind of jangly kind of stomping kind of rock song, and then it double times at the end and there's that crazy guitar solo and it just gets me amped up every time. I remember as like a teenager jumping on windowsills and flinging myself around like a wrestler listening to that song. So yeah, Paradise City. Modern classic.
Yeah. Definitely a classic. Nowadays kids are wearing the shirts that say Guns N' Roses and they have no clue why. So it's so sad.
I actually saw Guns N' Roses in 1994 or something like this, or 5. Maybe I was 15 years old, and I paid, I think, the equivalent of like 50 quid for a t-shirt. So I'm not sure what that is in dollars, but it's very expensive.
Yeah, at the concerts, those things are never cheap, regardless of where you're at.
And then like 2 weeks after I went to the concert, I saw the same t-shirt at the shop for like a quarter of the price. But like I was like, yeah, well, mine was there. Mine was at the thing. So
yeah, mine has the memories and the sweat. I don't think I've seen Guns N' Roses. I know that my first concert was Cinderella, Dokken, Poison.
Metal. Okay.
Yeah. But it was like one of those classic ones, one of those classic tours that we're doing, friends and stuff. And that was my introduction. I'm going, this is way before my time. I don't even know these songs. And the one that the one that has stood out and I love it now is Cinderella is Nobody's Fool. So that's one that I'm like, okay, from that concert, at least I took one song home. So
I've been to loads of concerts as a musician, as a teenage guitarist. You're hungry for that kind of thing. So I saw loads of cool bands back in the day. I saw Foo Fighters when they were on their first UK tour, when their first record came out. Nice. And that was cool.
Yeah. So we're getting to a fun part here where we get to little play games with our guest called Two Truths and a Lie, where you tell us 3 things about yourself and we have to figure out which one is the lie.
Okay.
And I say we because we're all playing along, right, listeners? Right? All right. Okay.
Well, I've undermined one of them already because one of them was I have an identical twin. And we now know that that is true.
Yes. I knew that beforehand.
So
that would have been It's
going to be one truth and one lie.
Okay. We'll go with the flow. So what are they?
Okay. I appeared in an episode of Game of Thrones. And the next one is I once posed nude for a magazine.
Wow.
So one of those is true.
One of them
is a lie.
Let's see. Pose nude is a truth.
You are correct. I posed nude for a magazine. I was a much younger, much trimmer man.
Yeah.
Didn't have the COVID lockdown belly back then.
Yeah,
but I posed naked for a magazine. It was just like an independent rock magazine produced in the city. And they got all the bands that were big in the city at the time and got the front men or like the key members. So it was me and my brother and a few other people that I knew from the bands in the scene. And they wrote the name of the magazine on our backs in letters, like it's called Exposed, ironically. And I think I was the X, so they put a big X on my back, and so we all stood at the bar naked with a beer in our hands. So we got to see all our backsides, and that was like a spread in the middle of the magazine.
Wow!
But no, I did not appear in Game of Thrones, although I almost did. So that's where that lie comes from. It's rooted in a near truth.
Yeah. How did it almost happen?
Well, I got an email last minute audition for the role. I don't know if you remember. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
Yep, saw it all.
Right. So you'll remember the episode where Queen Cersei is doing the walk of shame through the town, and then throwing cabbages and things, and shame, ring the bell, that whole scene. And then when she gets right down to the bottom of the path, a guy jumps out and says something like, "Oh, what's the line? I'm a Lannister, suck me off." And he opens his robe and sort of like waggles his penis at her. Right? You remember that bit?
Yep, I do.
That was the role. And so I got this email to audition for that. But it was because it was so last minute. It's like you got to fly to Prague, I think it was, the following morning. And my passport wasn't up to date. Valid. It expired. And I hadn't had it renewed. So I was like, oh fuck, I can't fly to Prague. And so they gave it to some other guy. And but that could have been me. But I waited until just after the episode aired, so it wasn't like a spoiler or anything. And then I just I put the email that I got from the casting company online, and it went viral. It went like huge because it was like Game of Thrones was huge at the time.
Yep.
And they were saying like, oh, behind the scenes, like look at this kind of thing, this leaked email. It wasn't leaked. I just put it online. And then everyone's going, oh, leaked email. And it's like, and he's like, he's talking about like must have no piercings or genital mutilations. And it was a very specific email that people found titillating at the time. So like it blew up, and like it was in the New Zealand Herald and like the GQ and Esquire and, national papers, international papers, like this email. And they picked up on the point that I jokingly said that I didn't get the role because I was too well endowed. so that was the kind of thing that kind of made it go viral. But yeah, I could have been the dick guy in
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Life. Things that throws at you.
The grace. There but for the grace of the 7 gods.
Yeah. Well, it makes for a really good story too, though. So
thanks.
Yeah.
Well, then that makes up for only having one truth and one lie, I guess.
Yeah. Too funny. Before we go, can you tell us what you're currently working on, and if you can share what's coming up next for you?
Yeah, I'm working on lots of stuff, like video games. I can't really reveal anything about those because of the NDAs.
Yeah, gotta love those.
Let me see. I've got some books coming out. I'm doing the Demon Pack trilogy by Jamie and Eve and Everly Frost, and I'm narrating that with Addison Barnes. I've just done a Mountain Man book, which was different for me. It was just like a stalker romance, I guess. And it's like a very gruff mountain man, if you're into that kind of thing. That's by Olivia T. Turner. And I'm narrating that with Beth Rogue. I'm doing the latest in the Guild trilogy for Tate James, who I work a lot with. And I'm narrating that with Michelle Sparks. And Laurel Chase, I'm doing some novellas for her in her Cheelin series of books. And I'm doing some mafia romances, Ruining Dahlia with C.R. Jane, which I'm narrating with Billy Fulford Brown, and a book called His Rule for Natasha Knight and Ashley Zavarelli.
Nice.
And I think I've got loads, too many to list without being really boring. So.
Yeah, I seriously doubt that anybody would complain about listening to you talk. So, but I get it. I understand.
Yeah, I'm just nonstop. I'm working every day, and it never stops. But I'm glad for it.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. Good for the listeners. We're devouring these books as they pop out, literally, and not giving. I mean, some of the listeners are like, the book releases last night at midnight and they're already talking to the author, like, when's the next one coming out? And I'm like, it's like, chill.
Yeah. But so I'm booked up solidly till next year, so there's not going to be shortage. No shortage of me, I'm afraid.
That's not, gee darn. I guess we'll just have to deal with it. Let's sigh, as it said. Thank you so much, Lucas, for taking the time to hang out with me today. It's been such fun.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure.
If you're not following him on social media, do not wait a minute longer. You will find his links of this episode over at Viviana, Enchantress of Books. And until next time, happy listenings.
Thank you to all of our Audiobook Lovin Podcast Patreon. Special thanks to Nixley Zenner, Carol Liebner, Line Black Peterson, Brittany Robinette Leiter, Dawn Darch, Michelle Bastard, Nancy Billows. The Audiobook Lovin Podcast has special Patreon access levels. Join today to receive benefits including early access to episodes, shout-outs, special exclusive content, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/Audiobook Lovin. We thank you for your support.
Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. For links and more information discussed in today's episode, previous podcasts, or the Audiobook Lovin Series, please visit our website, vivianaenchantressofbooks.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast. Until next time, happy listening.